No, you woke up like this.
Whoa! Whoa, man! That's what happens when you make a tripod out of books without meaning to. I don't know. Okay. Hello, world.
So we've been talking over cake.
We think and speak and we drink tea. Making videos we edit lazily. Sarah, Donald, and Ella Jean. We are Bleep.
About catcalling.
Because it seems to have come up a lot this week.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's a thing in the air that men just
Of being douchebags.
Yeah, I think there's a douchebag cold going around. There's a douchebag cold going around.
It's like the end of summer when everyone's starting to kind of settle in, and so men think, hey,
I think it must be that the women are settling in and the men are like too much libido still.
Yeah, because they were dicks all summer and were horrible cheaters, and now they're alone.
Yeah, and now they're alone, sad, and they
Catcalling.
need an outlet.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a really good comeback to someone who's catcalled?
Well, I've never been catcalled.
It just sucks to stay quiet ever, because it's like you're not. I don't respect myself enough to remove myself from the situation, or like it's just giving them dominance over whatever's happening.
Yeah,
it's like
that's the thing. Like you don't want
to cause a thing.
Yeah, like because that so Ella will tell her story, but it's that whole thing of how we saw this really good comic book once of how, you know, like all day if you're catcalled or people just saying comments or like in the workplace and just kind of stuff, like if you're grumpy at work they're like, oh, you're on your period. It's like, no, maybe I just have emotions and I can express them because I'm a healthy human. I'm not just a like stupid boy man thing. But then, like, you know, the minute you kind of talk back or you're like, hey, that's like kind of bullying or that's offensive or just fuck off, they're like, oh, you're such a bitch today. And it's like,
and when guys are expressing it, it's opinions. When girls are expressing it, it's emotion. And I just finished reading Caitlin Moran, who's also really good, and she's so cool. She's so cool. She just talked about like working for a magazine, and the stuff that they would do in the office, like because she was young and like enjoying herself as a young woman and sleeping who she wanted to sleep with, and people heard about that, then guys would be like, yeah, I like your article, but I think we should discuss it. How about you sit on my lap for a while? And it's like, come on, like that is disgusting. And if it was a guy in the office, it's like, oh, he's such a player, like it just kind of shows more testosterone, but all of a sudden it makes her less of a person. Yeah. And just the switch of like that men will immediately see you as like, my friend from work was actually telling me a really funny story about like this guy that was like, again, sort of catcalling her friend as they were walking, and he was just saying like, oh, you're so attractive, I want to do this to you, want to do this to you, and then as soon as she was like, okay, fuck off, he was like, oh, you're fat and ugly and such a bitch anyway. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's kind of funny for you, because you just switched within like 2 seconds. Yeah.
But it makes me angry. We just came back from Edinburgh as well, so we're very like, woo, theatre brain. Did you see In Cahoots?
I did.
So there's this cool, we know them, 2 guys who do improv as well.
Yeah, I heard they're really good.
They're really good. Not that we doubted you. But, they did this amazing short sketch about 007, but it was Jane Bond, and they'd swapped all the roles to, like, James Bond was female, and Q had her in and was like, Jane, no one dresses like that in the office. You don't want to be called a slut. And she's like, but it's like an elegant cocktail gown. And she's like, who have you been sleeping around? You know, it was just so great. And it was like the minute they swapped the role, if James Bond was a Jane Bond, she would be like called the slut of the office. She was sleeping with co-workers. She'd be getting told off. She'd be told she wasn't good enough, even though she was the best assassin in the world. She was still getting told off because she was like rocking up late.
Nobody says to James Bond, you should probably get an STI check.
Yeah. All of a sudden, which is great, there's been this huge influx in feminism, but people are getting them confused with sexism, and that's when people are like, oh, everyone's like, all of a sudden you're all so angry and blah blah blah. And it was this great quote I saw a quote in the sky. This guy basically wrote, imagine feminism is like two toddlers, one's a girl, one's a boy, and the boy has 3 toys and the girl has 1, and they're playing fine, They're playing fine. But you think that's unfair. So you give the girl 2 more toys, but then the boy starts crying and saying he wants 2 more because 2 more toys, because then that would be more fair. And I was like, that's it.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Not that all of the men are douchebags and people are fighting for it and whatever, but
Because some of the toddler boys are perfectly fine with their
they're
amount of toys.
fine. It's
Some
just
of them want 10 more toys.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just, yeah.
Luckily, because of social media and because everyone is now more connected than ever before, we can talk about this in a progressive way. But then also there are the stupid people who are like, oh, like, it's just women, like, catcalling. Why is it such a big deal? You should be flattered.
And
oh,
the
it's just
extent to which
liking it.
people will go to shut down feminism still is really upsetting. This is getting a little bit dark. But there's this really great woman on Twitter, and she goes by the handle Feminist Frequency or Femme Freak,
That's cool.
and
Like femme fatale.
yeah, and she is like an awesome resource for any sort of cool articles or events and stuff going on. Like she's a really, really cool person to follow. But recently she's been facing a lot of abuse on Twitter, and so she's started to just say, like, I know that this is, you know, this is something that I face, and because I'm putting myself as, she's trying to separate herself from, like, it's not me, it's what I'm talking about that people are attacking, but at the same time it's really, really hard. She's had death threats on Twitter, she's had abuse, and one of which I tried to help report was people that were actually posting child pornography as, like, just to intimidate her.
Like, it shouldn't be a ridiculous thing for someone to sit down and be like, yeah, I'm a feminist. Because it just means you want equality for both sexes. That's it in a nutshell. It's all these just ridiculous other things that are getting people angry and confused.
It's, yeah, there's a massive element of fear, I think, that goes along with it as well.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, that's one thing that I guess I'm in the midst of trying to combat, is like how to express what you're feeling and express your anger, but not feel scared. Scared of losing your job, scared of being seen defective. Like, I shouldn't, when I'm in the right, when I'm walking home, when somebody's calling me out, it's like I'm in the right to say something, but I still feel scared.
Showed me this amazing Louis C.K. stand-up thing about dating, and how he's like, the number one threat for women is a man. Like,
Historically,
let's go out on a date at night to a place that you don't know him. And
and the laughter that you feel from that is
Yeah.
that of, oh my god, that's
It's
so
true.
fucking true.
I love as well. He
Oh,
ends
man.
it on like, what's the number one threat for men?
Heart disease.
Whatever.
Maybe we were fucking catcalled earlier.
Yeah.
Ah.
God.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats, though, tune in next week and there will be a cat here.
Yay!
Very excited.
That's
So-
really exciting.
He's called Rufus, and he's ginger, and he's wonderful. Maybe we'll just do a whole video of us just like,
The cats.
he's so great. Yeah. Oh, remember that thing I'm going to tell you? It's really important about the, and then what cuts.
Yeah.
No one will ever know. The treasure is hidden in.
Yeah.
Let it fade.
Oh, but the one thing I do really want to talk about